and welcome to More Than Mindfulness with Body Soul School. My name is Becky Moeller, and today we are going to be talking about how do I surrender? And this is part 2 from last week's video, what is surrender? So surrender is a huge part of our programs at Body Soul School, and it is one of the most fundamental spiritual practices for any spiritual pathway. No matter what religion you are or what kind of practice you have, surrender is really the essence of what invites spirituality and a higher power into our lives. But what does surrender look like in practical terms? This is a question we get often. In our program, we encourage people to reach out all the time, to be reaching out throughout the week, anytime that they find themselves in a moment of distress, when they start to tailspin, to lose their serenity, to lose their center. And we have people reach out because there's something really powerful in speaking a surrender out loud and to a witness. There's something that happens in our neural pathways that connects our intention and our emotional energy when we use our voice to speak words out loud. So at Body Soul School, when we talk about surrender, we often encourage that to include a reaching out. And I most often reach out using the Marco Polo app. I also surrender just by picking up the phone and making a phone call. Sometimes I surrender in person if someone's available. But however you surrender, I want you to try to practice using your voice. So sending a text message is not going to be as a powerful way to surrender as a practice that actually requires you to use your vocal cords and put yourself out there. It's a little extra edge of vulnerability and accountability when we're actually using our voice. So what are times I might need to surrender? Really, any time that I've lost my serenity or I feel myself tail spinning or that I just feel off and I'm not sure what's happening, but there's something that's like an emotional disconnect, or I'm finding that I'm looping in my brain and having really unproductive thought patterns. So what I do is I take some space and I reach out. Usually that's on Marco Polo. And I'll reach out and I'll say, "Hi, it's Becky. I need to surrender." Then the first thing I want to talk about is an I am feeling dialogue. So I might say, "I am feeling really frustrated," or "I am feeling so much sadness and depression. I'm feeling really low." Saying I am feeling keeps the focus on me and helps me stay in a space of self-awareness where I'm exploring my own mind, body, and spirit and using my surrender to help bring awareness and bring the light of awareness into what's happening inside of me, in my own locus of control. So I am feeling, And sometimes it's really helpful to even identify where those feelings are showing up in my body. So I might say, I am feeling really stressed and it feels really tight and locking up in my neck and my shoulders. Oftentimes when I'm surrendering, I get emotional. So maybe there's tears coming down my cheek. This is something that keeps a lot of people from reaching out and surrendering because they're afraid of looking stupid. But this is the very reason why surrender is so powerful. Not only does it allow me to open myself and realize that I am worthy of connection, even when I'm at my most vulnerable and my most broken and my most weak, but it also opens me up to a safe person who can help me feel validated where I'm at and get more comfortable with those emotions that oftentimes become the things we hide or we stuff down because we're afraid to reveal that part of ourselves. Now, typically in a surrender, there's some sort of situation that's happened or that is happening that's creating this dysregulation. And it's really important when you're surrendering not to get too caught up in the story, because the surrender is not about the story. It's about what's happening inside of you. And your locus of control is not in the story or the circumstance. It's in what's happening inside of you, your own heart, the way you're attaching to things, your own mind, the narratives and perspectives you're bringing to things. So although you may need to give some backstory to kind of set up what's happening for the person you're reaching out to, try not to get too caught up in the story. If you can feel yourself using details to defend yourself or justify your position, that's really good place to bring some self-awareness and recognize, oh, I'm making this about the story instead of making it about what's really happening inside of me. It's really interesting to start noticing through this process how the story activates our logical mind. It activates the part of us that wants to make sense out of things and wants things to be right and fair. This part of us, while helpful sometimes, at other times in our lives, can keep us really stuck because we're locked into mindsets and perspectives that we're not even aware of. So when we take our focus away from the story and bring it more into the felt sense of what we're experiencing in our body and emotionally, we're actually creating space for something that's beyond our logical mind to start to work in us. And that is our higher power, a higher perspective, something with more capacity and wisdom than our own logic. Now, once we've established the background of what's happened and we've brought our focus and awareness into our feelings and the felt sense of these feelings in our bodies, we really want to apply the Serenity Prayer to this process of surrender. And I'm talking about just this first stanza of the Serenity Prayer, which is one of our really focal points of the Body Soul School programs. And it starts with, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. This short stanza holds the wisdom and the pathway through all of our problems. So as I'm talking through my situation, as I'm using my voice to verbalize and process and bring awareness into what I'm feeling, suddenly it becomes clear in my mind, what are the things I cannot change here and what are the things that I can? And through the process surrender, I mostly am bringing awareness into what are the things that I cannot change. And those are the things that I need to surrender. So phrases that can help me release and understand what it is that I need to let go of are, I release control. I surrender. I let go of. What are some of the things I might need to let go of? Other people's opinions of me, outcomes, sometimes just the situation or circumstance I find myself in, the way people perceive me, maybe the desire or urge to make somebody see and understand. The more I surrender, the more clear it becomes that the only thing I really have control of is my own mind, heart, willingness. And there is a great relief in speaking out loud and acknowledging when I'm trying to control something that is outside of my control and allowing a higher power to take that from me. So it's really important to understand that surrender is not giving up, it's giving over to one who has the capacity and wisdom and ability to do what I cannot do, who has the vision and perspective to see a bigger picture. So really quickly, let's join in a mindfulness practice of surrender. If there's something that you can tell has been keeping you stuck, that has kept you spinning, obsessing, a mindset that is not serving you, a source of anxiety or depression, you can just allow that to come into your mind. This is a practice run. You can surrender to me here. Hi, Becky. I need to surrender. You can say it out loud. Wonderful. Knowing that I'm a safe person, that I see you for you, that I'm not here to judge, that I'm here to support. And you might just start by saying, I am feeling, See what word or phrase expresses what needs to be expressed. And you might even see if you can locate that feeling somewhere in the body. And you can say that out loud. I'm feeling it, this, and I feel it here in my body. If it serves you, you might speak through and process some of the details of the situation, aware of how many details want to come up, if there's a sense of defending yourself or proving anything, and feeling the difference between talking through and processing to understand and see truth versus processing and talking through to justify yourself or push blame onto somebody else. Feel the difference between those two dialogues. It often happens that as we start to process in a surrender, we recognize that we are able to answer our own questions. The questions that we had when we first made that reach out are actually answered in our own processing, often. And now you might just consider the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and courage to change the things I can. What am I grasping onto or trying to control that is not mine? That is what needs to be surrendered. Feeling into all these questions, not just with your mind, but more with your body. Seeing what comes up. And when you're ready, I surrender. Just a reminder, it might be someone else's opinion of you. It might be the way someone else thinks or behaves. It might be an outcome. It might be a belief system or way of thinking that you recognize is not helpful. It might be an identity that is not based in who you truly are. It might be an expectation on yourself that is unreasonable. You might even use your hands like we did last time. I surrender, and speak it out loud with that visualizing, using the body to release control. And when you're done, just feeling the difference in the body, feeling the lightness, the release. You might notice mentally that there's less of a spinning, that there's a space and an openness and a stillness. Emotionally, you might feel that those emotions have shifted in some way towards a positive compassion or humility or patience. You might notice the effects of the surrender in the body, a lightening, a softening, a sense of relaxing. These are the gifts of surrender. There's not one right way to do it, and we can talk about receiving a surrender in another video. But basically, when you reach out to surrender, you should just be met with, "Thank you for sharing with me. I'm so glad you reached out." Maybe someone might share their own strength, hope, and experience with a similar situation, but never advice, never anything that says you were good or you were bad, you did that right or you did that wrong. Surrender is a practice, and receiving surrenders is a practice that helps us align ourselves correctly with God and others, that nobody else knows our next right step, that only we have the power and capacity with our own higher power to know what is right for us, to align ourselves in mind, body, and spirit, to release what is binding us. And our community is simply there to support us in that effort. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. Namaste. We are only 2 weeks from the launch of our online 18-week course. This is a boot camp for surrender for spiritual, physical, mental, and emotional health and well-being. If you're serious about finding your best life and grounding yourself in a lifestyle that will improve your life satisfaction, your joy, your relationships, and your ability to love and accept yourself right where you're at, we would love to offer an invitation to you. Check us out at bodysoulschool.com. We would love to have you.